Here's Gareth in Sheffield. Go ahead, Gareth.
Hi, George. I'd like to ask Tom a question. I put it to you about a year ago, and you sort of were a little bit dismissive of it at the time, but I'll mention it again. When the planes struck the South Tower, it was reported widely on American news that America undoubtedly was under attack, simply because it was a second plane, you know, it wasn't obviously an accident at that point. And I can't, for the life of me, understand, if you were a citizen of Washington, D.C. at that time, being told that New York City was under attack and that America was under attack, why there's never been any private individual who had a camera trained on the sky, a camcorder trained on the sky, who would not have caught any jet airliner coming in towards the Pentagon.
Okay, Gareth, thanks for that. I've got a lot of people on. Here's Adrian in Luton. Go ahead, Adrian.
Oh, hi, George. Nice to speak to you.
And you, sir.
George, just a point about the Building 7. I mean, the thing about the Building 7, that the owners or, you know, the insurers admitted on CNN that they pulled the building because the first couple of floors caught flight. I mean, that's on YouTube as well, you know, that they've actually said they pulled the building down. So there shouldn't be any controversial issues about Building 7.
Should not be? No. It takes months to wire a building to pull it down, my friend.
Yeah, but Tom, they've admitted it on CNN. You can check that out on YouTube. It's actually on CNN.
And the same man said that we misinterpreted when he said pull. The owner of the building, Larry Silverstein, says he meant pull the firefighters out of the building. He did not mean to pull it down.
Yeah, but...
Okay, sorry, Adrian, there's so many people, I can't keep people on for long. Go ahead, Gareth in Leeds.
Yeah, George, parallel point. It is Building 7. Larry Silverstein came on and said that we had to pull the building. Now, if you're a Fred Dibner, I don't know if Tom knows Fred Dibner, but he's a demolition expert, and you can see that the building was detonated. Now, imagine yourself in New York with two twin towers collapsing. Where are you going to get a detonation firm from to come and wire a building? As Tom says, it takes days. So there is a building that was prepared for demolition, and it came down on the day of 7/11 in tandem. Now, how many conspiracies have we got going on this day? Why do they want to connect them? If we're going to demolish the building, demolish it, fine. But why are they connecting them with the Twin Towers?
Okay, Gareth, here's Michael in Ilford. Go ahead, Michael.
Hello, George.
Hi.
Three quick questions. Why was the put options on the airlines the day before, the week before, not followed up? By the airlines that crashed into the towers.
Just explain what you mean by put option.
Well, lots of money was made on the put options that the shares would fall on the airlines that crashed into the towers. It was never followed
That's
up.
absolutely correct, and it's never been identified who won those bets, who knew in advance to put those bets. It was statistically an anomaly. It could not have been a normal situation.
Yeah, and secondly,
go ahead, Michael.
And secondly, why did the government say that Flight 93 crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, when it didn't?
Well, how do you know it didn't? Where did it crash?
Well, you can look at Flight 93, you can look at the CNN helicopter overhead in the field, and there's a hole in the ground. And the coroner turned up and said, well, there's nothing for me to do here, there's no bodies. There was no bodies, there was no plane.
So the people who telephoned their relatives as the plane was low, when the plane was low enough to tell people that they were hurtling apparently to their death because there were men had hijacked the plane, what, were they lying?
Well, it was obviously shot down, but it didn't crash into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. You can look on YouTube.
No, that's a fair point, Michael. That's a fair point. As long as we're not saying that the plane didn't exist. Anyway, quickly, your third point.
Yeah, the third point is, can you ask Tom how many bodies were actually found and identified from the 4 flights by the relatives?
Okay, thanks for that. Here's Diane in North Finchley. Go ahead, Diane.
Hello, George.
Hi.
It is not clear that the aircraft were hijacked on 9/11. The Muslims involved could have been recruited to work for the CIA as agents. They could have been told that as part of their training they were to have experience of co-piloting 747s. The CIA would then tell air traffic control and the passengers that the plane had been hijacked, and the voice messages that we heard seems to confirm this. The CIA could then have taken over from the ground and flown them into the buildings.
I'm sorry, Diane. I know that you're a yogic flyer yourself, but that's yogic flying to the absurd degree. Here's Alan in Swansea.
Hello, George.
Hi there.
The gentleman was just talking about the Pentagon, and it seems very, very strange there that the aircraft of that size left such a small hole. There was a huge fire, and yet they couldn't find the engines, which are massive. And also, after that then, of course, what did they do? They covered the ground with gravel and earth, which hides any source of anything that surround the place. And there was a NORAD exercise on that day, and the person actually in charge of that on the same day as 9/11 was Dick Cheney, and he was in charge of all the NORAD orders.
What's NORAD? What are you talking about?
It's the defense...
North American Air Defense Command.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. And
well, what do you mean he was in charge? You mean Dick Cheney, that portly fellow who was the vice president? He was sitting in charge of an air exercise.
That's correct.
Well, how could he be? I mean, these are things that are done by military officers.
No, not on that day they weren't, George. It was Dick Cheney.
Not only that, but there's testimony from the Secretary of Transportation who was with Dick Cheney, and an orderly came in and said, "Sir, the aircraft is now 50 miles out. Does the order still stand?" And he said, he snares at him, "Yes, it does." And it got closer and closer and closer. That could have been an aircraft that was part of the exercise that overflew the Pentagon, making people think it was an airliner, and while at the same time a missile from a low level went and struck it at the same time it was flying over. I don't know, that's just the theory. But
okay.
May I answer some of these
Well,
questions?
no, I want to take two more quickly. Here's Danny and Ealing. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, hi George. I just wanted to ask, mate, I just wanted to answer that gentleman's question earlier on about why would the CIA...
Sorry?
Why the CIA would, why these Islamic fundamentalists would sacrifice their life for the CIA. Basically, how about if they didn't know that they were working for the CIA?
Well, that's right. Everybody doesn't always know who they're working for. And lastly and quickly, Ozzy in Rugby. Go ahead, Ozzy.
Hello, George.
Hi, mate.
Please don't cut me off, George.
I will have to cut you off, so you'll need to be really quick, or I'll have to cut you off.
First of all, George, I'd like to say I agree with the gentleman in America. And the thing about it is, George, we don't all know everything. You're a clever guy, but you don't know everything.
No, that's right. I'm a clever guy, and I don't know everything. And none of us know everything. That's why we need to investigate this a whole lot more. I'm going to bring back Tom just in a minute after this.